Yay! I'm sort of live. Mm. And no one's here. Wonderful. Because I'm not even ready yet. My head is haunting me and my heart feels like a ghost. I need to feel something because what? Does the mic work? Okay, good. Because I'm still so far from home. Cross my heart and hope to die. Promise you I'll never leave your side. I'm live now. People told me they wanted me to go live and they don't want to come to my live. You know, the very least they should come tell me I'm cute, you know. So. Oh yeah, bring me the horizon. My head is haunting me and my heart feels like a ghost. I need to feel something cause I'm still so far from home. Cross my heart and hope to die. Promise me you'll never leave my side. Cause I'm telling you, you're all I need. I promise you, you're all I see. Well, Betty, I don't have any helpers tonight. It's just me. My brother, you've already done a free one for you, so I was gonna. Well, thank you, but well, do it anyway. I don't have a fucking theme, you know. I think that stuff is stupid. People don't care. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Bhavya. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I am cute. Thank you for saying so. And thank you for appreciating my channel. I appreciate you. Hooray. We do have some people here. I sort of dispensed with all the theme nonsense, you know? And so I'm just doing chart readings. Because there's a lot of shit going on, stuff, whatever. And we can just do sort of a snapshot horoscope of, you know, the next few months or so, you know. You know. And I'm eating dinner while I do this. So if you'd like to share your birth info, my assistant today is this notepad. So it's lovely. It's got spiral stuff at the top. And it has blue lines. See? Blue lines. Well, thank you for being supportive anyway. But it would be wonderful if you could give me your birth info. And we could look at stuff because, you know, there's always a new way to express and experience things, isn't there? You know? And we're a few days closer to each of these actual transits. Jupiter goes direct on the 30th, and Venus goes into Sagittarius on the 29th. I'm doing a video, or like working on a video with horoscopes for Venus going into Sag. So, oh, you're from California, Betty. California knows how to party. California, nya, nya, knows how to party. In the city of Vallejo. Sorry. Vallejo, California. Do, 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 do. I'm from San Diego, so it's such an uppity city. I'm writing all of your stuff down, and we'll go through it one by one. Savannah, Savannah, Georgia, Georgia. Betty Bovine. I'm going to Bovine University. No one probably remembers that. My teeth are blue. Oh my goodness. I wonder why. Savannah, you don't need to give me your your zip code if that's what that is. Leaving on that midnight train. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. She took the midnight train going anywhere. Ah. So fun, thank you. You did. Oh, I said your name right. Bavia. Okay, wonderful. You live in Kentucky now? I'm sorry. That's where Amber lives. Amber is typically my helper with all this, but she had a hot date. And, you know, I, as a fifth houser and very sex positive person, could not complain, you see. But and then my little brother's modem exploded. So I'm still writing down Savannah. June the 6th, the fellow Gemini. 1988. I'm 1983, so you're relatively close to me. You know, I mean, I date people in 1988. So. I mean, it wasn't like Back to the Future or some bullshit. I mean, people who were born in 1988. You see. Savannah. Salem. Date, time, city. Thank you, Savannah. 11:41 p.m. And Salem, Washington, Indiana. I don't get it. Salem, Washington, or Salem, Indiana, I guess. Salem. Oh, Washington County. Thank you. I'm assuming that's what you mean, but Indiana. And there's Bavia. Bavia. May 13th. 97. Noida. I better watch my handwriting. India. Okay. Took the midnight train going anywhere. Sorry, I'm writing all this shit down. Because, you know, there's Patricia. Patricia. Did I miss anyone in between? Patricia. Patricia. Under Patricia. Instead of under pressure, you know. Under Patricia. Sorry. That sounds bad. I'm sorry, Patricia. 7:52 a.m. And I know it sounds like a trifle thing, but if you get a chance, please, date time city. I'm neurodivergent, and like, you know, I have a thing. And so date time city, or date time city, is very helpful for me. Patricia. Under Patricia. Appleton, Wisconsin. I have lots of family in Milwaukee. They don't like me, though. They do not like me. Okay, so first one. So we're going to stop there. Both Aquarius rising. Well, we have a wonderful time coming up, don't we? Don't worry, it's just grape juice. So anyway. Under pressure. So this is transits right now. But we're going to look first at Betty. Boop, boop, beedoo, boop. I'm sorry, that's what I think of when I think of Betty. Betty Boop. Boop, boop, beedoo, boop. And it's February the 7th, 1990. It's such a cute name, though, Betty. Vallejo. Fucking hate this shit sometimes. That's why I say date time city. Because if it doesn't go in that order, then I'm like, fucked. So, like, Betty. Where's Betty's birth time? 1:33 p.m. Okay. Because I don't have Amber here to misspell things or get things incorrect for me. I have to do that all on my own. At least my brother does it mostly correct. So I just like to, you know, I like to be not nice to them. Because it makes me feel better about the situation. You know, I just sort of, I can vent about it. Doesn't make it right. Vallejo, California. Xare, Baja California, Mexico. That's what they said at 91X all the time. What's okay? Vallejo. Why isn't it? Oh, did I spell it wrong? There we go. Okay. Sorry. You have to cope with my mental deficiencies. I'm completely helpless on my own besides, like, being okay at astrology. I really am not, like, cut out for living in a world anywhere. So, anyway. How is everyone? So glad Christmas is over. Oh my goodness, yes. Heather Ginther. Heather Ginther. My dear love Heather. It's been a long time. Been a long time, been a long time. Lonely, lonely, lonely. Heather. Heather, my dear Virgo. Heather, my dear Virgo. I love you, my dear Heather. You know that. You know I do. And you did Daytime City. You are so wonderful. 12:54 a.m. It's like car 54, where are you? And if anyone wants to donate, there's super thanks and super chats and soupy. So, you know. Yes, Betty, I got you. Don't worry. Frankie, do you ever look at people's... Yes, I actually do look at people's Chiron placement. Contrary to popular belief, as you can see, I have Chiron in this chart here. Because I do look at Chiron. Because as Austin Coppock said, it's a thing that does stuff. I don't know. I've seen it bear out in readings for long enough. Oh, the only objects which aren't planets, right? I know they don't consider Pluto a planet anymore, but I do. Okay, I have Pluto tattooed on my arm. Right? I mean, I don't know if you could see, but I gave Pluto a heart. Yeah. Anyway, Chiron's the only one of these objects I still play with. I mean, I look at Lilith. I do. Because I'm a slut. And because I have Lilith conjunct my ascendant, like, by several minutes. Which is, you know, probably why I'm such a slut. Or part of it. I mean, it's not why. I just am. But anyway, so finish writing down Heather. Brighton. It's Brighton, Colorado. We love Colorado. Beats the hell out of California. It sure does. I really don't miss California. Yeah, Pluto's a planet. I'll die on that hill too. You know. But, you see, Chiron is a planetoid, or actually classified also as a comet. Both as a planetoid and a comet, or a dwarf planet, or planetoid, whatever you call it. Those are two, they're the same designation, I believe. And I see Chiron bear out quite a bit. And you know, Chiron was like the one good fucking centaur out of all of them. You see centaurs, and I'm talking about this a little bit in my Venus and Sagittarius video coming up, but centaurs are motherfuckers, dude. Like, you know, they drank a shitload. They were rapey as fuck, you know. I don't know if I could say that word, but, you know, they were sexually violent, nasty creatures. In a way, very Sagittarian. I mean, I love Sagittarians. I do. Sag boys and girls, especially the girls. I like more sensitive boys, but I like, you know, really filthy girls. So, I've always tended to be with Sagittarians and Leo types, you know. So, I just realized though, I do want a stable partner, even though I'm polyamorous. Like, I'd like a stable partner, you know? I didn't realize I wanted that before. I thought I just liked being a Saturn slut. But let's look at Betty Boop's chart. So, you don't miss California either. Yeah. Fuck California. I mean, I just love Colorado. It's so great. So, Betty, I hope I have all your information correct because I have February the 7th, 1990, 1:33 p.m. in Vallejo, California. Yes. And I have you as a Gemini rising, 28 degrees. I hope all of your shit's correct because I'm not going the fuck back. Okay? And I do pull sign houses. There's nothing wrong with wanting an anchor partner. Well, thank you. I didn't think I wanted that before. And now I think I do. So, you know. I don't know if it will happen at any point. I don't know. But that would be fine, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. The last couple of people called me an ice queen. And I'm really not. I'm a Cancer Venus. I'm not really an ice queen. I'm just an ice queen when I, you know, when I don't really care. I mean, it's not that even that I don't really care. It's just that I haven't caught the feels. And when I catch the feels, you better watch the fuck out because I get weird. I get crazy. I get fixated. You see? I get fixated. And I did monogamy for many years. I'm a very loyal partner, you know, depending on the agreements and everything like that. But so, anyway. That's you. Well, Betty, you're so sweet. And your rising sign is conjunct my north node, which is sort of interesting. But anyway. So you're a Gemini rising. So that means the big backdrop of your life right now, we're going to start off with Saturn and most of this stuff. I'll mention Pluto for people who have fixed rising signs because quite frankly, the Pluto going into the Aquarius thing, you've dated mostly Gemini Venus. They were ice bitches 1000%. I'm a Cancer Venus, but I'm an Aquarius rising. You see, so people call me an ice queen because the Aquarius thing. But you see, I'm really a soft, mushy at heart. I'm a mommy. I'm a mom. Like, I'm the mommy partner, you know? But I like to, you know, anyway. I like to refer to my partners as mama because I'm creepy, you know? And I have issues. But, you know. But I like to be the mommy because I'm, you know, I'm going to be such a terrible person when my daughter, like, leaves and grows up. I'm going to have such bad empty nest syndrome. I really am. I'm such a Cancer Venus. I'm such a mommy. And my progressed sun is in Cancer. But we're talking here about Betty Boop. And she has her Venus conjunct Saturn in Capricorn. Oh, my poor baby. You know, I mean, in a way that's kind of hot to me because I like ice queens a little bit. And it's sort of no, but you're a Cancer moon. You're with a 12th house Cancer Venus. So what did we get wrong, Betty? Oh, wait, no, you're with a 12th. Okay, yeah, okay. So, well, of course you're with a Cancer Venus, Betty Boop. Of course you are, because you want that softness, because you know, you hide it from yourself. There's something very awkward about you socially, you know. You're afraid of people. You don't like being vulnerable. There's something even aseptic about you. It's like if you could wrap your body in saran wrap just so you wouldn't have to have human connection. Oh, by golly, I think you'd do it. I don't know. You can't see it. I can see you. Maybe being too honest. Not bad. I don't know what you're talking about. You can't see what? Oh yeah, no, I agree. No, yeah, I think people who call me an ice queen are just, I don't know. I don't know what their problem is because I'm not. I'm really not. But I am very picky about things. Like I'm very picky about, I don't know. There's just certain, like, I have certain invisible lines. Like people, I'm a Taurus Mercury. You need to, like, I need to jive with your fucking pheromones. If I jive with your pheromones, I could bathe in your sweat for days. You know, like I would tell some partners, like, please, before we do anything, I want you to work out. And please do not shower for like the next day and a half. I want you to marinate like a fine steak, you know. I know that sounds gross to you, but like people who smell, I can't deal with. It's repulsive. And they could put all the body spray on in the world and it would still be repulsive to me and I could still smell it. You see? But people who smell I jive with, I'm like, please marinate me, mommy. Please. You know. So, well, anyway, you didn't need to hear all that, but this is just one of the ways it sort of manifests, yes, or woman fests. But it's so funny. I just see that it's like this whole. It's a classic stellium, right? 3 planets all conjunct in the same sign. Venus is stationing retrograde too. You poor baby. Oh my goodness. But wait, I gotta. Sorry, we gotta cut these short so I can get to multiple ones. You see, so we're talking about. Excuse me. We're talking about transits. So Saturn is the backdrop, you see. And Saturn's going through your 10th house. Now, when Saturn transits our 10th house, it's like we feel like we miss opportunities. We feel like we get stagnant. That maybe we go for the job or the promotion or something and we don't get it. Like, you know, someone else gets it. Or even though we're more qualified or whatever, you see. Or we get really excited about an opportunity and it flips out. You see, it's because we've gotten attached to our life direction. And during Saturn going through the 10th house transits, we see the holes in our life direction. You see, we start to see like what, you know, like this isn't working for me. This path doesn't jive with me, you know. Bhavya says Saturn is in her natal 10th house. Rip me. Well, no, when Saturn's in your natal 10th house, you're a late bloomer. You feel like you don't have a life direction. Typically, your parents want to determine your life direction, right? Or they have expectations of you. But you can't fill those expectations because you're not like them. And it often makes us feel very guilty, you see? But it's feeling like you don't have a life direction. You don't figure out what... It's always like, well, what do I want to do? But for Betty here, it's going through her 10th house in transit. So you see, it's more about redirecting the life direction, you see? Redirecting the life direction. When I had this, I was in the restaurant biz. Well, you know, at a university. You see, and I went for a major promotion to oversee my whole area, right? I'm almost like being a little regional person over multiple restaurants. And they selected someone who was older than me and who had a little bit more experience, even though my numbers were better, my performance was better, etc., etc. He was a lovely man. I still love the man. I think he's a wonderful man. However, I think I'm better. You see. And that's the way my father trained me. He was a colonel in the United States Army. He used to say, I don't give a fuck if you're a toilet scrubber. You be the best fucking toilet scrubber there ever was, or else you're not my child. You know? Now, he died before I came out by his own hand. Right. I don't think he'd approve of me being transgender. But I think we'd have an understanding, you see. But anyway, Saturn going through that 10th house is a doozy. And I thought I really wanted this certain life direction, but life diverted that direction. So I think this is what you're going to experience. You see, and then it made me aware that I didn't want to do any of that bullshit anymore. If you don't think you're the best, why should anyone else? Well, yeah, I agree. And I do think I'm the best. I always think I could be better, though. And if you don't think you could be better, then you have no business doing any of this. The only reason to be involved in esotericism or spiritual work at all is to make yourself, well, I want to say to make yourself a better person, but it's not even that. It's to become aware of who and what you are, you see? It's the whole purpose of any spiritual work is to understand your relationship as apparently a conscious being to the rest of existence. That's what spirituality is all about. It's about how you relate to the rest of existence. You see, you just left your career in line of 16 years and about to start something new. Well, yeah, that's very typical of this transit. I don't know what that fucking means, Dave. Dave says you're the best at being better. That's something that coaches said when you were a kid, when they wanted to tell you that you suck. Like, well, you're the most improved. So, Dave, that sounds like some bullshit you're feeding me, homie. I had something stuck in my mouth. It's probably cat hair. Anyway, we gotta move on to someone else, so I gotta speed through this bullshit. You understand? Mars is going through your 7th house, which can strain relationships. Either you had a breakup or you had fights with a partner, or if you're single, then you're like, I want a partner. You get all frantic about it. And we often get quite randy. And that's when, a lot of us women start saying, well, I'm already 40 years old and I'm going to be old and alone and all this bullshit and everything. Oh, I know you're having fun, Dave. Relax. Sylvia, hello. Hello, my darling. Hello. I'm just giving you my response, Dave. I'm just a very quick person. Well, no, I'm very slow, I should say. I'm just, I don't know. I have thoughts. I know high people in places. Let's see, what are we doing here? Oh, okay. Anyway, I was talking about Mars. What about Venus? Venus is going through your 6th house and she's about to enter the 7th. So you should watch. I'm about to do a video on Venus and Sagittarius. So that'll be quite interesting. It's the whole back. You see, Jupiter's about to go direct also. You see? Carry on. I sure will, sir. Yes, I shall carry on. Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are gone. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. Do 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 do. Brow. Anyway. I'm sorry. See, if I don't have helpers with this, my ADHD takes over. Well, you've had Venus going through your 6th house, which hopefully you took advantage of that to start working on having sleep and taking it easy on yourself a bit. But then going into your 7th house, this is sort of going up back behind Mars and smoothing out your relationships. So if you are with someone, Betty, hopefully this is a wonderful time coming up here in January when you start to feel a bit more at ease, you see. Oh, let me write you down, Sylvia. So, Betty, we're going to move on to the next person because Sylvia 42991. Oh, wow. Thank you for doing Date Time City. Learnington? Fucking Canada has the weirdest names. Learnington? The fuck is a Learnington? Oh no, Leamington. Leamington. Is it like the Lemmings? Leamington, where we all just jump off a cliff? Ontario. Fucking Ontario. It's so funny. Like, Canada's preparing for refugees in case there's a right-wing government that happens in the United States, which looks pretty likely. And a lot of Canadians are like, yo, it's not like progressive up here. You know what I mean? Yo, cat, do not eat my food. If you eat my food, you're out of the family. I'm telling you. I know it's tempting, but you need to restrain yourself. Anyway, next chart. Next one. Hopefully they're still here. Savannah. Savannah, Georgia. It reminds me of midnight in the garden of good and evil. Savannah, Georgia. Savannah. I do declare. My mom's favorite movie is Gone with the Wind. That's all you need to know about how I grew up. My mom's favorite movie is Gone with the Wind. I don't even want to know what my dad's favorite is. I think it's one of those war movies, probably. He used to make me watch Platoon and Full Metal Jacket, and I don't know. He was a Vietnam vet. But I do miss him. 11:41 p.m. in Salem, Indiana. Okay, so the Salem in Washington. Oh my God, Savannah is a doll. Savannah. Wait, this is a heart. There we go. It's a heart. I love you because you put the county, and it asked me for the county, and you were way ahead of me, darling. So thank you. I really do appreciate it, Savannah. So let's go to your chart, my love. Hopefully we have all your information correct. My fellow Gemini. My fellow Gemini. Through hell, if it meant I could hold your hand, I will follow you, 'cause I'm under your spell. And you can throw me to the flames. I will follow you. And remember, I'm accepting donations, 'cause, you know, this shit doesn't do itself. Bonjour. It's Faustine. Faustine. You know he's made of skin and bones. Well, look at you, my darling. You're a fifth house type person like me. Savannah. Keep you away from the boys and girls, right? I bet you started early like me. Like we're just touching. And we're just, you know, I mean, usually we start as kids. And it is what it is. So, we tend to be very sexual people. Although Venus is retrograde, you see. So, that makes things a lot more difficult. See, retrogrades either turn the planet's significations on its head, or they delay its promises, its good things, or bad things, or reversals, delays. I totally forgot what else I was gonna say. Anyway, now I'm rhyming. But it's typically reversals or delays. You know, like if something is typically going well, then it gets worse. Or if it's going bad, it gets better. But in a natal chart, it often, what it does is it delays the promises of that planet, whether for good or for ill. And so we'll see retrograde things happening later in life, right? So it does kind of mess up some of the stuff. I mean, for example, I have Jupiter retrograde. And Jupiter didn't really start doing any good stuff for me until I got to be 40 years old. So, Destiny, hello. Hello, my sweetheart. I hope you are well. So anyway, a Pisces moon. Not too far from being conjunct Mars. Look at you. Anyway, you know, the interesting thing about having Chiron in your 5th house, along with this little stellium thing here, I wonder if you're a singer, Savannah. Do you sing? You found a Dr. Ruth book at 8. Yeah, life changed that day, right? I know, we start early. Like, I don't mean to be graphic, but I had my first O, right, that I was aware of, probably around the same time, like 8 or 9, you know? I mean, I fooled around with another little child along with myself when we were 5, something like that. We were both 5 years old. I first really started sexual stuff with boys when I was 13 and girls when I was 16. So, and I knew I was bisexual by the time I was 5 or 6 years old. I remember specifically being on the playground with 2 friends. And you know, kids, like, they show their private parts to each other and all that sort of thing. You know? And my 2 friends were like, oh, I'll show you mine, I'll show you mine. You know, one was a boy, one was a girl. And I'm like, wow, I really like both those things, whatever they are, you know? So I was just aware of it at a very young age. And it's 5th house type things, you know? We're very aware of sex, but we're also very immature and childlike as 5th house people. Walt Disney is a 5th house type person. We also lose our innocence really early on, you see. Like, I think of J.R.R. Tolkien, who has a 5th house son like you and I do. You know, that motherfucker was in World War I. You don't understand World War I. You can't. I can't. It was unparalleled carnage. I'm talking human bits all over the place, strewn in the mud, barbed wire, fetid, festering stench of rotting flesh, and oil, and gunpowder. It had never happened like this before. It totally destroyed a whole generation of people, of men in particular. You see? And a lot of them were called the Lost Generation, like Ernest Hemingway. You know? Hi, happy holidays. Hello. Savannah says, stop me. Stop you? I wouldn't want to stop you. I'm a slut, baby. I'm a proud slut. I'm the Saturn slut. I like being promiscuous. Even though I want a partner, I do want a partner too at some point. Again. Even though every time I have a partner, it's always like I end up being a simp and they end up taking over my life. And I don't want to do that again. So, but that's up to me and my patterns, you see. I did a whole great video about codependency in astrology. You should go check it out on my fucking channel, you see. You know, this is just grape juice for one of the high holidays. Sorry, that's probably blasphemous to my actually Jewish friends. I was raised Catholic, you see. So, but anyway, this poor baby, right? You're a 5th houser like me, but you also have Chiron in the 5th house, which makes things quite difficult. Which tells me if you're a mother, or if you've probably had some issues around childbirth, you see, unfortunately. You know, sometimes you see things like miscarriages or whatever, or sometimes we see C-sections. Or, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be glib about all this stuff, Savannah, but that does happen. Miscarriages. I don't want to say C-sections necessarily, because that's more of a Mars thing. But, okay, I'll write down your shit, Destiny. Is this Destiny the political commentator? I'm kidding. They would not be interested in astrology. Ooh, Aries. 92. I need to start using like hip young Zoomer slang because I don't. Like, I asked my daughter how to say cool, and she said bussin'. And I'm like, yo, bussin'. And she's like, shut up. Do not say that ever again. Do not. And I'm like, oh my God, I've become that. I've become that. Cincinnati, Ohio, you poor baby. Ohio. Ohio. Date, time, city. Yep, thank you. And remember, date, time, city. You're too old for bussin'. Okay, I don't know. That's what my daughter told me. I'm too old for based. I'm too old for lit. I used to work at a university and my students would be like, yo, that's lit. I'm like, to me, lit means stoned. Like, I'm lit. You know what I mean? I'm not. I mean, you know what I mean. So anyway, you have Saturn going through your second house, my darling Savannah, like I do. See, you're a fifth houser with Aquarius rising. And you have Mercury in your fifth house, the ruler of your fifth house. So maybe you had children later, you know? I have a block where you can either have great sex from me if I give both or I get screwed. You have a block where you can either get great sex or emotions from me. If I get both, I get screwed. Yeah, no, I feel you. Because I had some pretty wild sex recently with different people. And I got no emotions. And then I got emotions for people that, I didn't even have sex with right away. Whatever. So, you know. Savannah smiles. I lost my fucking place here. I'm sorry. Like, I have ADHD and, MZ Colston. What's up, homie? Anyway, if you're saying stop you, Savannah, from having sex, that's not going to happen. Just like it's not going to happen for me. It's so funny because that's it's one of my passions in life. It's what gives me health and vitality. I love sex. I do. And I bet you do too. And it's not a bad thing. You see? I had someone try and tell me on my page earlier, like, oh, it's just an empty thing. It's empty illusion. I'm like, yo, I'm just out here enjoying myself and giving my body its like health things. Like you eat food, don't you? You drink water, don't you? Like I need to fuck. Like they drink water and eat food, so. And so anyway, I'm just saying that it's important stuff. And it's a health thing. Like these are things we talk about with our doctor too. You see, because it is a quality of life thing. And if you're not getting it, you at least better do it to yourself. So, I'm sort of lucky because, I'm promiscuous, I suppose, but I'm also a little bit autosexual. So that means I'm attracted to myself. So, anyway, this poor darling, just like me, has Saturn going into her second house. Saturn in her second house. This is hard because it makes us very worried about money. It makes us really worried about our material situation. See, I'm getting all red, right? It makes us very worried about, and this is what Mars aspecting the ascendant or the sun does. If you have Mars aspecting your sun and or ascendant, you get flushed and blushed, right? Quite easily, you see, right? You also get dry skin and dry hair, so. But anyway, so Saturn going through the second house makes us acutely aware of our financial situation, and we often feel like we don't have enough. And this is a very uncomfortable time for us, Savannah, as Aquarius risings. You understand? Now, on the other hand, we also have Jupiter going through our fourth house, and this is your Jupiter return. When you have Jupiter in your fourth house, hopefully it meant that you had a good father. Now, it may be that your father cheated on your mother or had an extramarital affair or something, whatever. And I say that because the fourth house ruler is Venus in the fifth house. So maybe your daddy was a bit of a slut too, you know? My dad was a Scorpio rising, and that's how I found out I liked kink at a very young age. Because the motherfucker had like 10 bankers boxes full of kink porn in the garage. I found that shit when I was like 10, 11. And I'm like, whoo. Sup, yo? This is very interesting to me. Get my hands out of that picnic basket. The Ranger isn't gonna like this, Yogi. No one remembers Yogi Bear. Y'all too young. Y'all too young. I'm too old. Yogi Bear. Anyway, you have Saturn on your Gemini rising first house. Nice. So remember, my dear Gemini rising, don't be yourself. I mean, that's a joke. The whole point of having Saturn on the first or on your rising is that you don't know how to be yourself, that you find your value through other people, or that you continuously look for your value through other people. That we often have a sense that we're missing something and we need other people to give us validation, right? Oh, I gotta keep, I'm sorry, people are gonna get upset. I need to move on with charts, I'm sorry. Need to move. Hey, hey, boo-boo. Get your hands out of that picnic basket. Stay away from that Ranger. Anyway. I gotta keep going. This is not good. But you see what happens with Jupiter going through our fourth house, Savannah, sometimes we get some hidden luck or income or money from our past or our parents. Our parents sometimes help us out. For me, my dad had passed away, and an investment that he left me sort of turned up, out of nowhere. I'm one of 4 siblings, but anyway, it's neither here nor there. But anyway, some good stuff happened from that, and is happening from that. And so you may see, and actually, sometimes we see relationships with our parents get repaired as well, particularly fathers, because that's the fourth house. But, modern astrologers like Liz Green say it's whichever parent was more important, Anyway. Me too, my dad and my brother magazine. I just turned 51. You just turned 51? Well, hey, mama. Anyway, I'm so gross. I'm awful. I mean, I'm not gross. I'm such, I love attention. I just love attention. It's awful. I love attention. So anyway, Venus. Now, did we talk about Mars yet? Mars has been going through your 11th house, left your 10th. When Mars goes through our 10th house, we often have this little fall from grace. We get this bad reputation, you see. Please just moved 1,000 miles. Yeah. Well, this should be good for housing and stuff then. This should. And Jupiter is in your 4th house until late May. So Mars went through your 10th house. So you probably acted stupid and probably got known for some bullshit. People see, like, we embarrass ourselves when Mars goes through our 10th house. I know I did. I went to some adult events and I could have acted better, But That's the thing. Then Mars goes through our 11th house and causes fights with our friends and our social circle, oftentimes. For me, I got a lot of hate on social media from transphobic motherfuckers. You know, people who threaten to unalive me or who tell me to do it to myself. I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of people. Just like an onslaught. You see, and this is why I have my brother and Amber helping me so that I don't see that stuff. And Amber was like, yo, did you see what this dude said? I'm like, no, I don't want to see what that motherfucker said. That's why I have you helping me. So I don't see what he said. No, I don't want to know. Yo, look at this. This person called you. Like, no, I don't want to know. You're here to insulate me from this sort of thing. You know. Anyway. But with Venus going through the 11th house, now it picks up a lot of these things. And we often want to get more social again. And we reconnect with friends. And we reconcile with people. You see. Such foul behavior. What foul behavior? The only foul behavior is behavior that really hurts people, or that hurts people. Oh yeah, so that's the foul behavior you're talking about. Yeah, it's bullying. And if you're a grown-ass fucking person bullying people who are more vulnerable than you, and by and large, most trans people are more vulnerable, Not me. I mean, first of all, because I'm privileged as fuck. Second of all, because I was raised in a military family, and I'm not afraid to take care of myself. Doesn't make it right, though. When people send you very threatening messages and images, of firearms and all this sort of thing, It's very disturbing sometimes, but I'm used to it. I'd rather me go through it than some other more vulnerable people, because I know some very, very soft trans women, So, I have, anyway. I have a lot of privilege, so it's my responsibility to be a bitch on other people's behalf, so. Anyway, Mars, right? Venus is now going through picking up Mars's slack. Or cleaning up his social faux pas. Yeah. I mean, he really just pisses people off when he goes through our 11th house. We act a fool. And now Venus should hopefully get you to make amends with people and connect with people and be comfortably social again. Now, when Venus goes through Sagittarius, she's very fun-loving and exuberant, so that's something to remember too. And that's, part of the whole social bit. Now, Mercury's been going retrograde through your 12th house and then back into your 11th now. So you had, right? We did act stupid, us Aquarius risings, somewhere along the lines. We pissed some people off. And now what we're doing is we're repairing things with Mercury and Venus. Yeah. And then Mars will go through our 12th house in late January, or start to at least, and in February, and make us sort of restrain our desires and our tempers. I mean, not even necessarily restrain. It's just that we get more reflective. Like, why did I do that? What's wrong with me? You see. Oh, Gemini Rising says that's sad. You are amazing or awesome just as you are. Well, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Yeah. Well, and Bhavya, I mean, you're from India. There's Hijras, right? I hope I say that correctly. Hijras. There have been gender non-conforming people. I mean, there's a third gender, right, in South Asian tradition. But transgender people also fall under the category of Vishras as well. And transgender people actually get more rights in South Asian countries a lot, by and large, than they do in the United States. Now, that doesn't mean that they're better in other ways, right? But or the United States has more freedoms in plenty of other ways, you know, in standard of living. But still, it's very interesting that gender non-conforming people and transgender people in particular have special protections in, say, Pakistan and India and Kashmir. Well, Kashmir is between Pakistan and India. But you see what I'm saying. Bangladesh, right? Bangladesh. What else is another South Asian country? Bangladesh, India, Pakistan. Anyway, plenty of others. And Bhavya says, yes, it's always normal. And Bhavya is next. We have to get to Bhavya. So, I talked about all that shit. Cool. I mean, I don't, there's always more to talk about. Fuck. I gotta move on to multiple people. I mean, the great thing is going to be the eclipses in our 9th and 3rd house. You see, the one coming up in April, the solar eclipse, is going to be in our 3rd house. And this could either be about your extended family, siblings, cousins, aunts, or uncles, or whatever. But it could also be very much about you. In terms of communication projects, or for me, it's content creation. The other thing we see coming out of there is your local community. Getting more involved in your local community. The other thing we see is education. So getting involved in an educational pursuit. If you had an aspiration, like for me, I want to get a certification at some point. So y'all motherfuckers take me a little bit more seriously. Not that a piece of paper determines anything. Title doesn't dictate behavior. But people find it more legitimate, don't they? So I wanted to work on the ISAR, the International Society of Astrological Research, right? That's one of the main certifications. So I was thinking about doing that. But Savannah, I will move on now. Bhavya. And so Bhavya, you know, being that you're from India, you probably are accustomed to using Indian astrology in the sidereal zodiac, right? I do not use the sidereal zodiac for very specific reasons. And I'm going to very quickly say why that is. Because sidereal astrology allows the solstices and equinoxes to drift, right? To change allows the signs to drift relative to the solstice and equinox points. And that's a problem. Because the signs get their fucking meanings from their relationship to the solstice and equinox points. That is, the solar cycle, the alternation between light and dark over the course of a solar year. Now, in the northern hemisphere, that's where the symbolism came from, you see? But it's still the same solar cycle, regardless of the hemisphere. So, when you do sidereal astrology, you're totally omitting or dismissing that symbolism. You see? Part of Capricorn's whole fucking symbolism is the fact that it happens at what? The winter solstice. Part of Aries' whole symbolism is that it happens at the vernal equinox. Yeah? Part of Libra's whole symbolism is that it happens at the autumnal equinox, when the light begins to wane. So anyway, I'm just saying that for your benefit, just in case. because I don't use the sidereal zodiac. I don't. And the other thing about Vedic astrology is that there are these, because they try and account for the precession of the equinoxes, right? Which is that whole thing. God damn it, I don't want to explain this. Precession of the equinoxes or axial precession. You see, the Earth, it spins on its axis, right, as it orbits the sun, and it slowly precesses, meaning it sort of traces this circle with its pole over the course of 25,500 years or so. You see, it's due to the Earth's wobble. So essentially, it's a whole nother astrological cycle. It changes what star is the pole star. Right now, it's what we call Polaris. But for the Egyptians, it would have been the star Thuban, you see, because of precession. Now, it was supposedly discovered by Hipparchus, the ancient Greek astronomer astrologer, in the 1st century BCE? Anyway, sometime before the Common Era. And he discovered it because he noticed that his own calculations didn't jive with the Chaldean ephemeris, or calculations of the stars back, 1,000 years ago. So, anyway, you guys are lucky that I know a lot of this fucking history that we can talk about, because this shit's really important, Anyway, so Hipparchus noticed that the fixed stars weren't really fixed, that they were moving relative to our vantage point from the Earth. You see? And that's how we discovered precession, axial precession. Now, that doesn't affect the zodiac, you see? The whole notion of the age of Aquarius and the age of Pisces and all these things are determined by axial precession. The age of Aquarius supposedly starts when the vernal or spring equinox occurs in the sidereal sign of Aquarius. You see? The sidereal zodiac is not more accurate. It's not. It's not. It just takes a different reference point. And I think, if anything, it's less accurate, unless you're talking about these things like astrological ages. And I grew up in theosophy. I grew up in all this sort of stuff, and I sort of have militated against it. So I find a lot of this Age of Aquarius nonsense and the New Age movement, because I grew up in the fucking New Age movement. I grew up in it. I'm a child of the New Age movement. And I've rebelled against it because I find it abhorrent. I find it repugnant. I find it disgusting. I think it's racist. I think it's spiritual colonialism. I think that it demeans and reduces indigenous people to a horrible position. I think if anything, it's supported and upheld a lot of the power relations of the day and gave them a spiritual legitimacy, you see. Now, there were great things about theosophy. I grew up with Alice Bailey, but I've sort of militated against her as well. Annie Besant, or Annie Besant, was an amazing woman. And she and Alice Bailey had an amazing falling out. You guys don't care about any of this. But Annie Besant at least did amazing things for women's rights, for socialism, for Indian independence. And she was a very progressive social force. Alice Bailey, on the other hand, I'm sorry, if you say you're fucking talking to masters, dude, ugh. I don't believe any motherfucker who says you're talking to masters. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's go back to Bhavya. That's what's important here. Bhavya. Bavia knows how to party. Bavia, via, via, via. AM, AM. 8:47 AM. That was just my little aside about why I don't use the sidereal zodiac. Now, originally, the sidereal zodiac and the tropical zodiac were the same fucking thing because no one knew about precession, apparently, that we know of. Sure doesn't seem like it. There's no record of it. That's why I don't believe in fucking Atlantis. There's no record of Atlantis. There's nothing left behind except for white people in the 1800s who want to make themselves feel more legitimate as abusers by saying, well, you know, we were made legitimate from Atlantis. You see? Or starseed nonsense. You know, aliens made us. You know? Like white people are special because aliens. You see this shit all the time in Ancient Aliens and the fucking Graham Hancock shit. And it's big in theosophy. Now, they always say that race is not, it's not a racial thing in theosophy. It's about consciousness. I'm sorry, motherfucker. Anyway, you guys don't care. You guys don't know anything about theosophy. You don't. And you should. Because this is what modern astrology is based on. The whole modern New Age movement, all of your bullshit, all of your twin flames, all this nonsense ultimately goes back to theosophy and Madame Blavatsky, who I studied for 17 fucking years, almost exclusively, with Alice Bailey. You see? So if I seem a little upset about all this stuff, you can understand. Because I feel like I was grifted. Like I spent so many years of my life on this shit. Western occultism, by and large, is a big grift. And it just takes a misunderstanding of Indian traditions. I can't even say Hinduism because Hinduism isn't one thing. Hinduism is not a monolith. There's so many different approaches in India to religion, you see. There's so many different types of Hinduism, of Indian religion, you see. And a lot of it gets reduced in theosophy to this sort of, you know, Orientalist mysticism. And then it gets misequated with a misunderstanding of Buddhism. When you tell a theosophist about anatta, right? The anatta is the idea there's no soul, no self, which means no God. Right? When you tell a theosophist about this, they can't explain that. They don't know about that. You see? They don't fucking get it. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. I've been on ongoing debates with close friends and people who are experts in these fields. I've had a lot of great mentors in these fields. The reason I am whatever I am and have done what I've done is because I've had excellent mentors who have found me. You know, it's been luck. It's been pure luck. But I have Saturn in the 9th house, so I always become at odds with my mentors eventually. Because I think the meaning of life is meaningless. Anyway. Noida, India. Why does that not come up? Why does that not come up? Bhavya. Why does your city not come up? Noida. It doesn't recognize your city. Noida? Noida, it doesn't like your city, Bhavya. It doesn't like your city. I don't see a Noida. I don't see a Noida, Bhavya. King James started it evil, medieval. I mean, even before King James. I mean, if you're talking about Christianity, there's a lot to say about, St. Paul and the epistles and his sort of representation of Christ's teaching. And I've spent a lot of time with the Gospels and with Christ's teaching. I get a lot from the Gospels. I don't even necessarily believe in God. It's a small city in Uttar Pradesh. Okay. Uttar Pradesh. They gave me Nizamabad, Uttar Pradesh. Nizamabad, Uttar Pradesh. Let me look it up. This is always hard. Okay. Oh, it's not even far from... It's not even that far from New Delhi. Wow. It's not even far from New Delhi. I mean, I could probably use New Delhi as far as latitude, you know? Mm. Let's see. Because I still think this is pretty close. No, 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 we're good. We're good. Wait, how come... Where'd my chat shit go? Why can't I chat? Where's my chat? Anime. Oh, I just can't type. That's what it is. So we got you at a Cancer rising. I hope this is correct. We have May 13th, 1997, 8:47 a.m., New Delhi, India. I'm using New Delhi because that works here. And it's not that far. It's pretty close. Well, my darling, you've been having Saturn go through your ninth house for a while now. And this totally deconstructs our beliefs. You see? I know when Saturn went through my ninth house, I mean, I had gotten involved in a spiritual group not too long before. And everything I believed in sort of changed at that time. I had very long hair. I was raised in a conservative American military family. I was raised to hate gay people, let alone trans people. I mean, I don't even know if that, to my parents, that would have been just considered transvestites. And I grew up in a very racist family, in a very racist household. You see, and then over the course of Saturn being in my ninth house, all my political views, now I dispensed with racism early on, especially when I was in high school and I was a raver, I was in LA all the time, with people from all different backgrounds, and we were all on drugs all the time, and so I learned to be very loving and tolerant of all types of people. but I was still stupidly conservative in my economic beliefs. And it was while Saturn was going through my ninth house that I had a complete change in all my understandings of economics and politics. And so it's likely that you could be having this too, Bhavya. You could be breaking with the beliefs of your parents in your past. You see? It's quite interesting. Now, while all this is happening, Jupiter's going through your 11th house. So maybe you're finally getting support from a mentor, or people have come into your life to support you. I think Gemini Rising says, I think the Bible is not true, for authors made the book, in my opinion. I mean, I'm a student of history first. When you spend 28 years in the occult, as I have, it makes you a bit of an atheist, you see? Just like they say going into seminary or becoming a priest makes you an atheist, right? So, Bhavya says she feels that heavy, right? Well, that's good, because it's a good thing. It's part of your growth. You know, it's a deconstruction. You see, when Saturn goes through a house, it shows you what part of your life has been stagnant and needs discipline. For me, it's my second house. It's my ability to run a fucking business and make money. For you right now, it has to do with your religion, your outlook, your politics, your beliefs, your understanding of human nature. And you have to understand there is no fucking human nature. Just like Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, the tabula rasa. It's a clean slate. Human nature is whatever you choose to put on that tabula rasa, upon that slate. Now we have proclivities. We have tendencies. We have things we bring into life with us, whether it's psychological or whatever. And these things are typically visible in our charts, right? We can see what those things are. Where they come from, we're not totally sure. Astrology presupposes this whole thing about reincarnation, which you don't have to believe in, you know, but it's part of the philosophical basis for astrology, which is based on Hermeticism by and large, as well as Platonism, other ancient philosophies, Indian philosophies wrapped up in this stuff as well, you see? So, but you don't have to believe in any of that. What you can see, though, is how this stuff indicates big psychological things that we go through in our lives. And big changes we go through. And in particular for Bhavya here, it has to do with how she relates herself to the rest of existence, because that's what the ninth house is. The ninth house is religion. Hi, Amber. Hi, Amber. Hi, Amber. Anyway, well, you have a Taurus Mercury like me. You're slow like me. You're slow, and you did not have a good time at home growing up. You disappointed your parents. And they were probably a bit abusive as well, especially your father. I think your father was either an alcoholic or mentally ill or just not a nice person, you know. Or he left you. He wasn't around. He was hidden. 12th house, you see? She's a 12. House. Venus. Right? I'm doing brick house, but, you know, 12th house. So. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, we should go on to another person. We should go on to another person. But this, okay, this year, 2023 and 2024, these are big manifestation years, you see? These are big manifestation years. This is when you change jobs, you change homes, you move, you make big life direction changes. So, there's a lot of good stuff going on, sweetheart. You know? There's a lot of good stuff going on. Now, Venus now going into your 6th house, you need to take care of your health. Please start working on getting enough sleep. Please start working on your nutrition. I don't know where you live. I don't know what your situation is. But hopefully, if you're following me on here, you have the ability to work on your sleep and nutrition situation. Because if you're working, then you're definitely not being nutritious or getting enough sleep. Who's next? Patricia. Is Patricia still here? Patricia, you still here, baby? You still here, Patty, baby? Under Patricia. Patricia, baby, you still here? Patricia. Bhavya says, I'm in LA now getting my master's. Good. Probably the worst nutrition you've had, but you're great during the holidays. Good, Patricia. So, Bhavya, you have my recommendations. Start eating more like lean meats and fucking vegetables. Green leafy vegetables. Things like spinach, chard, spring mix. Right? Eat broccoli, cauliflower. Yeah. There are many easy. I do this well, not every day, but I try and make like Indian dishes, American versions of Indian dishes. Like I make my own version of vegetable korma and my own version of chicken tikka masala, right? And I make a little bit of jasmine rice and I eat that shit for like 4 fucking days in a row, you know? And it's not bad nutrition. I buy the sauces at the store. I don't make the fucking sauces. I'm not that intense. We live in capitalism. We don't have that opportunity. You just got married last week and I did your chart a month ago? Oh, how time flies. 1986. There we go. You poor baby. Sun in the 12th house, but Mercury conjunct the ascendant. Do I have all your stuff correct, my dear Patricia? Because I have September the 22nd, 1986, 7:52 a.m., Appleton, Wisconsin. Oh, I haven't even had where's my 8-ball? It's my fidget toy. It's my fidget toy. It was on your Venus return. What was on your Venus return? What was on your Venus return? Venus return. Oh, yeah, okay, you just did have your Venus return. Oh, look at you, bitch. You got fucking Venus conjunct your Pluto. Good for you. I wish I had that shit. I'd be alluring as fuck. Although that's the irony about Venus and Scorpio is you think like, oh my god, it's gonna be such a slut, isn't it? Well, no, it's not. Oftentimes it's the fucking nun, dude. Like it's a lot of times people who are afraid of their sexuality, who don't know how to use their sexuality, who feel uncomfortable with sexuality. We see a lot of prudes with Venus and Scorpio. I'm not saying that's you, but that's something that happens, you see? But, well, it's a wide conjunction. Oops, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry, baby. My cat's down here. It's a very wide conjunction, you see? But still, it's a very alluring type thing. Now, these types of people tend to be hoarders. Like, they don't like to share. Like, it's my gold. It's the dragon. No, it's mine. It's mine. Gemini Rising says, y'all have a wonderful week, sending peace and love. So I guess that means she's leaving. I'm sorry, baby. But you go. Show us the cat? Dude, I can't show you the cat. It's up to the cat. You want to come here and say hi? Castor? Do you want to come here and say hi, baby? Come here. Ooh. And say hi to the camera. Look, it's Castor. Say hi, baby. Say hi, baby. This is my little boy. He's my little boy. He's my little boy. But he's very shy. He's very shy. He's not very social. Okay. There you go, baby. I'm sorry. But, so. They're two brothers, Castor and Pollux, like the brothers of Gemini. But my ex-girlfriend named them after the characters in Face Off. Face Off, the movie with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. So, I don't know his fucking sign. My ex-girlfriend went nuts and left me with the cats, and they became I was a dog person before, and now I'm a cat lady. So, hi, baby. Yes, you're so sweet. I love you. Castor's my baby. I mean, they both are. I love them both, but Castor's my sweetheart. Because Castor is creepy like me. He's got psychological issues. Whereas Pollux, his brother, is, very dominant, very demanding, very, So anyway, so Patricia, you've been having a wild fucking time, darling. Since this past April of 2023, I bet you've had either a big breakup or a wild readjustment of your relationships, you see? It's either been a big breakup or something like that. But when we have these big shakeups in our relationship or love lives, it causes existential crises, doesn't it? So, and what do I mean by existential crises? It's like, well, what's wrong with me? Who am I? Why don't they like me? Why don't people like me? And the problem is you don't like your fucking self. I'm not saying that you have that problem, but that's often the problem. Now, you have Mercury in your first house, natal Mercury, and very closely conjunct your ascendant within just mere minutes. And so you see what that means. It's very brilliant. It's a very intelligent person. These people are very smart. Now, I wonder if you have neurodivergence, though. You can be very brilliant and be autistic or have learning disabilities or depression, mental health challenges or addiction that makes it challenging for you to express your intelligence, Patricia. It's likely that you had a very difficult dad, right? You have Mars in the fourth house. Now, it's a very happy Mars. It's Mars in Capricorn, you see. But still in the fourth house, it can signify conflicts with dad. Now, you may have respected dad. You may have really got along with him in the long run, but maybe he was strict. Maybe he had a temper, right? Now, dad may have also been favoring of a particular sibling or something like that. Like you may have felt like someone else was the favorite. I don't know. Depression and addiction. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I bet you also had a bad experience of religion growing up, too. And of course, difficulty with mom because Moon is in the 8th house, but Moon is also exalted. So maybe you also really loved your mother, or she really loved you or tried her best for you, but she was just a screw up or an addict or got into debt like really badly or couldn't hold a job because it's the 8th house. The 8th house is fear, it's criminal activity, stuff like that. It's the stuff that we hide from ourselves. You see? So, but you have a lot to be excited about too. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Now, Mars has been going through your 3rd house that may have disrupted things with your siblings. It may have made you a bit harsh with your words. But now Venus going through your 3rd house should, help you to be more eloquent, to make good no contact with your mom anymore recent. Well, I mean, that's probably a good thing. Mars is going to go through your 4th house again very soon. So I don't be surprised if stuff doesn't pop up again with your mother, okay? In February. Okay? Late January, early February. Watch out for stuff with mom. Or dad. But yeah. Having fun with fire. Yeah, let me move on to the next person. I should... February 29th, 88, Worcester, Maryland. If anyone does date, time, city in that order, I will love you forever. Even when I hate you, I will still love you forever. Who's next? Heather. Heather's probably not even here anymore. Massachusetts. Yeah, no, I got that. Heather Ginther, are you still fucking here? If you're not here, I'm not gonna do your goddamn chart. Heather. One of my favorite movies is Heathers. With Christian Slater. I was obsessed with Christian Slater when I was a little kid. I was raised as a male child, a boy. but I'm a woman. But when I was like 6 years old, Christian Slater was so fucking hot. And Winona Ryder, they're both so gorgeous. Heather is here, wonderful. Heather is here. And I love both Christian Slater and I love Winona Ryder. And I love the movie Heathers. I love the movie Heathers. Heather was born in 1969. '69. 12:54 a.m. Brighton. The fuck, homie? There we go. There we go. Wonderful. There we go. Heather's a Cancer rising. Look at that. Oh my goodness. My Venus is conjunct your ascendant, Heather. I mean by 5 degrees. My Venus is 15 degrees Cancer. But, you know. Oh, and look. You've got the Sun conjunct Pluto, my darling. Marcus Williams, my darling. Yes. You made it in time. Oracle Panda, you loved him in True Romance. True Romance is one of my favorite movies. When I really like a girl, or a guy, but, you know, I prefer women typically, I always say, you're so cool. And that's a reference to The Great Gatsby also. Because Daisy tells Gatsby, you're so cool. And then in True Romance, right, she writes that down to Christian Slater, right? Patricia Arquette. You're so cool. And there's a couple of girls, There's a couple that I like, and a couple that I think are so cool. I don't know. We'll see if any of them are interested in me. I don't know. They should be. Because I'm pretty cute, and I'm very interesting, and I'm fun. But, you know. Time will tell. So, Heather Ginther. Saturn is going through your 9th house. You are also having a deconstruction of your worldview, of your religious beliefs, your spiritual beliefs, and your political beliefs. I don't know what this looks like for you, my darling, but, you know, it's a big change. And it's uncomfortable because, I mean, you know, we've sort of grown up in the spiritual communities, both of us, Heather. And I think we both sort of become a bit, my steak has just been sitting here the whole time. I think we've both become a bit disillusioned with our own community. I think we both have. And you're having your Mars return. So really, this is a great time for you to be getting your affairs in order. To be directing your energy into straightening your fucking life out. To cleaning up your house, your life, everything. Organizing shit. Like, do one fucking thing at a time right now. This is what's most important. Because Mars has been going through your 6th house and now Venus is entering in. You need to start taking care of yourself, baby. You've been probably running yourself crazy. You know? pushing yourself too hard, thinking that you're a martyr, thinking that you're doing everything for everyone else. But you're no fucking good to anyone else if you can't take care of yourself. Because if you're not fucking tip top, you're just a burden. This is really a time to practice self-care, to work on getting sleep, eating better. You see? Now, in January, when Mars goes into Capricorn, you're going to start having issues with your partner. If you haven't been already. And if you have been already, you're going to start to see those conflicts come to a crescendo. So you have to decide, if you're willing to put in the effort to make shit work. Okay? And I bet you are, because I'm pretty sure you've been with your partner for a long time. But this is going to feel like it's like a breaking point that's been hanging around for a long time. Okay? This isn't new. This isn't new shit. Like you've been through thick and thin with this person. It's just that in the moment it feels like, wow, this is the first time we've been through this. But it's not. It is a new thing. It's a new occurrence. But this feeling. You've been through it. You see. 32 years. Congratulations, but I can tell that this is still a contentious time. And it will be contentious through this winter until we get into March and get into spring. And Venus will go into your 7th house and you'll feel all this wonderful stuff. Well, Venus will go into your 7th house, I believe, in February. So, you see, things will start to lighten up a little bit, but just be careful. Don't say shit. Don't say shit that you can't take back. And also, don't fucking compete. Don't keep score is what it is. When you keep score with a partner, I promise you always fucking lose. Don't keep score. Don't keep score. Because then a partnership is not a competition. It's supposed to be an understanding, isn't it? So. Well, just work. What, Heather, we know each other. I love you. You love me too. We know that we're both sort of, we're emotional bitches. Yeah. And that's fine. But just know that the likelihood of conflicts is very high as we get through January, February, okay? Things will get better in February. But this is also a very optimistic time of your life. You're gonna get help from other people. Maybe male influences in your life, you see. Maybe you start having friends again. Maybe you meet more supporters. Maybe people come out of the woodwork to help you. Because guess what? When you have Sun conjunct Pluto like you do, how do we learn? We learn through a series of life-shattering crises. That's what Pluto conjunct the Sun is, or Pluto in aspect to the ascendant. We don't have comfortable lives. We learn through pain and suffering. Who doesn't learn through pain and suffering? But for Pluto people like us, it's very dramatic, you see. It's very dramatic. And oftentimes, power comes into play. We get into power struggles with family members, friends, mentors, right? Like I've been involved in a spiritual community for a very long time, for 18 years. And there are power dynamics that develop from that, you see. And so we have to be aware of all these things. So, but let's move on to the next person. I love meat. Meat, meat, meat. Sylvie. Sylvie. Okay, is Sylvie still here? Please let me know you're still here, Sylvie. Are you still here, Sylvie? Sylvie. Sylvie. It's Christmas time in the city. Jingling. Hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Heather, I love you. You know I love you, sweet. You know I love you, my darling. You know I love you, my dear Heather. And thank you. Thank you, Sylvie, for telling me it was Ontario. Because that came up. Anyway, please, I'm going to put this up on the chart. And then I need to go to the little girl's room. Because I have to go potty. Because, you know, I've been drinking so much grape juice. So I have to go potty. Silver bells. Silver bells. Sorry, I've been holding that for so long. Sorry, I've been holding it for so long, Sylvia. Who's doing okay in what little room? I mean, this is a very nice apartment, though. I have a very nice apartment. I love my apartment. Anyway, I love you, Heather. So, for Sylvia, she's a Leo rising, which is, you know, it means I simp for her. Fuck, she's Pluto conjunct the moon. Oh my god. I don't know if I like you, Sylvia. You have Pluto conjunct the moon, trine my Venus. And you're a Leo rising. I would probably fall in love with you. Like that. And you would probably ruin my life. And you have Saturn conjunct my ascendant. So I'm a little bitter already. Because I feel like you would ruin my life, sweetheart. You're probably very beautiful, aren't you? I bet you're gorgeous. Taurus sun. In the 10th house, conjunct your midheaven. I bet you're absolutely gorgeous, aren't you? The problem is you're absolutely passive aggressive. And you don't know how to stand up for yourself. Well, I'm sure you are a sweetheart, baby. I also think you're probably hyper independent. I think you're the type of person who doesn't want to rely on anyone else. I also take it. I think I think your dad was either mentally ill or an alcoholic or both. I think B, your mom was abusive, obsessive, domineering, or all of the above. I think C, you may have depression, bipolar disorder, or, you know, just some degree of volatile emotions, right? The bipolar coaster, up, 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 and down, 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 down. Any one of those, so. But the difficulty too, I know you say you're passive aggressive, right? And whatever, but the other side of Mars and Cancer is it doesn't know how to blow off steam. You build fucking shit up. It's like, like you take it, and you let it build up, and fester inside. And boil until one day you fucking explode and you fucking scare everyone with your emotional outburst, because guess what? Pressure has to go somewhere. It's like a dam bursting. And you know what Mars needs to do? He needs to let off fucking steam, homie. So what Mars in Cancer needs to learn how to do is to regularly share her emotions and let off steam. You understand me? She says yes to everything you said. Well, yes, I know what I've been doing astrology for 18 years. And a lot of this I've learned through practice. I've studied a lot. I've studied through many years. But you know what really helps you with astrology? Doing lots and lots of free readings for friends and having them critique you. Not even not even for friends, but for random motherfuckers, because that's what tests your mettle. You see? You want to see how accurate you can be based on, I mean, part of it's your own sort of intuitive understanding, and whatever intuitive means, that's sort of nebulous. I don't know. It might be a combination of something metaphysical or something that's more misunderstood in the physical realm. But you see, reading is a combination of all that. It's understanding people. It's understanding, the person in particular as best you can assess them in the moment. But you also have to trust the chart a little bit, because the chart does show you things. And if you're a sensitive type person, if you have any sort of people skills or charisma or a relationship to people in general, if you have one of those sort of relational personalities, then you tend to be able to connect with certain qualities or traits in people really quick. And this is what often gets labeled as cold reading. Cold reading and sort of the scam spiritual realm, where you just sort of have a sense about people. But I don't necessarily think it's a scam. I think a lot of it comes from people's sensitivity. But more than that, beyond the sensitivity part, is then being able to offer people an understanding, because you have the experience with whatever they're dealing with or whatever. And that's the part you can't teach and you can't acquire easily. That part gets acquired through pain and suffering, you see. And, it's very rare and almost fated where you have someone who's been involved in occult work for umpteen years, like I have, and at the same time have had to deal with or dealt with a lot of personal pain and suffering over that same time. Because those things really should coincide. I mean, you're not really developing as a person if you're not dealing with the crisis. Because I think you'll find, if you're really striving after understanding or knowledge or whatever, that you will be regularly and consistently presented with crises. If you are committing to this path, and what I mean by this path is just understanding your relationship with the rest of existence. If you're committing to that, you are also committing a violent act. You are setting yourself against the natural grain of movement, of natural movement, of what we might call involution. You see? The very questioning of what is, of yourself, of what constitutes yourself, that is an almost unnatural act. And by unnatural, I mean very natural. But it's so natural that it's supernatural. Yeah? When we question reality in ourselves in a sober and childlike and innocent way, It's the most basic impulse. Like, don't you remember being a fucking kid? Like, oh my gosh, I'm here. Like, what is this? Oh my gosh. This shit's fucking gnarly, yo. I mean, remember, like, who hasn't been a kid where you're mystified by your own existence? It's the most amazing thing. And I just see Heather said, well said. And I guarantee you, Heather and I both had that experience as children, where we were completely mystified by existence. And it led us on a path of needing, with our entire being, to understand how this is. How is this a thing? How am I here? Yeah? That's fucking wild, yo. How am I here? How are you here? The only thing you fucking know for sure is that you are here. If you puzzle on that, if you think about that, you're going to see why it's so. Because all you can experience is your own sense of consciousness, is your own sense of being here and now. And that's the whole reason why we do astrology, right? Is because ultimately, I mean, it's based on these ancient esoteric philosophies like Hermeticism, right? Which we know goes back into Egyptian antiquity. Platonism, which is Greek antiquity. Yeah. Who knows where that all ultimately comes from? And then Vedic philosophy too, which goes back at least, right? We know the Vedas at least go back to 1500 BCE. Right? And Hellenistic philosophy, the Hellenistic world, right, was sort of a hodgepodge of all these things. Sort of like Western occultism is a hodgepodge of all sorts of things today. You know? A lot of it is a big fucking grift, you know? And as I said earlier, I grew up in theosophy and theosophical work, and doesn't have a great history, does it? So, I mean, Heinrich Himmler, who is a big Nazi, sure loved theosophy and Helena Blavatsky. And that's what modern astrology is largely based on, is theosophy. You have to understand that. You have to understand where your shit comes from. I grew up in this, in theosophical teaching and with Alice Bailey. And Heather knows all about this, you know. Now, I'm still very committed to my path. Extremely committed to my path. I don't know what could shake me off. Now, I may be in conflict with my path a little bit, but it's a necessary thing, you see. And it's important for our development to be in conflict with our path. Otherwise, it's not really a path. It's just sort of a stroll. And I don't know about you, but my father told me, he was a colonel, he told me that nothing is worth doing that's easy. If it's worth doing, it's difficult. Now, Sylvie, I'm sorry I've spent so much time talking about philosophical bullshit, but I think it's important. And I really think you probably do have mama trauma, my dear sweetheart. I also think you are a strong motherfucking woman. I think you're a strong woman. I think you've been through a lot. I think you felt a lot. I think you tried your best for people. And I think you feel underappreciated. And I think you are You're probably beautiful. I bet you are beautiful with your 10th house sun in Taurus. Up at the top of your chart and Venus in the 11th house, aren't you? I'm sure you're so pretty and gorgeous, aren't you? With a Leo rising. You're so pretty, I bet you are. You know, but there's a painful side to this whole fucking thing, you know? Sylvia says, thank you. I am strong only because I've been through hell and back. The 12th house is the most difficult fucking house, isn't it? And Mars rules not just your 9th house, but your 4th house too. Right? Of family and religion and beliefs. You were a deep, deep person early on. Excuse me, 9th house. Yeah. A child asking the big questions. And yet at the same time, I mean, you probably got a lot of anxiety with Mars square Mercury. But at the same time, feeling like an alien in your own community, like you never belong. And probably surrounded by a bunch of religious nonsense with your parents, or at least one parent. So, but you see, this whole time right now is about reconstructing your beliefs, sweetheart. You're curious to see if you have a stellium. We'll move on to someone else. We'll move on to someone else. Amber's just watching. Amber. Destiny, we have you next. Amber. Amber who? Amber who? I don't even know an amber. Isn't amber like a type of stone or mineral? Isn't amber like that thing from Jurassic Park? What is an ember? I mean, hey, who are these people? I mean, Seinfeld, am I right? Hey, what's the deal with airline food? Am I right? I was never into Seinfeld, but I was into Gilbert Gottfried making fun of Seinfeld. He's like, I mean, hey, who are these people? They say they're gonna be here and they're not. I'm telling you. Oh my goodness, I'm such a piece of you know what. I'm really not a good person. I'm not a good person. I promise you, I'm like a normal person, and even worse than normal in that I'm extremely selfish and extremely self-indulgent. I'm not a good person. But I try. And if there's one thing I preach, it's trying to understand your relationship with the rest of existence. Understanding what the fuck you are. Like, what is being? What the don't you, like, how, if you don't feel the mystery of being here, then you have no business speaking to me. I mean, you know, I don't mean to be a bitch. I'm just saying. It's the whole point of all this. It's the whole point of all this. The whole point of all this is how you be. Is the nature of existence. Because even if this is all just a figment, right? of microtubules in the brain aggregating into some sort of organic mass, out of which consciousness is an epiphenomenon, an emergent property just of matter itself, and there is no spiritual realm whatsoever, I still think we're able to understand that through the fact that we're having a conscious experience. And I think regardless if things are some sort of mysterious way or not, even if there's some sort of empirical, non-mysterious way, it's still a reason to rejoice because it's real. Because it's real. And I believe in reality at all cost, right? Jean-Paul Sartre, I believe, said that to seek truth is what? It was a really good quote, and I usually have it memorized. So to seek truth is to seek being above all else, even in a catastrophic form, just because it exists, right? Just because it exists. People are dropping off because, I don't know, because maybe they're getting bored. But this is really important, you know? It's important stuff. Because what we're doing is we're going into oblivion. And if this is really interesting stuff to you, maybe I'm talking a little above your pay grade or something. If this is interesting stuff to you, we're talking about going into oblivion because it's about investigating the nature of self. And I think Western occultism itself is just one big grift. But if any of these philosophies at all, and Buddhism in particular, and I'm perhaps cherry picking out of Buddhism right now, and especially through gurus that I've followed, like Sri Maharaj Nisargadatta or Ramana Maharshi, that these sorts of figures are always preaching only one thing. And this is the one thing that I've found to be useful, which is learning to fix your attention, your sense of attention on the sensation of being you. Because that's the most basic thing in existence, see? Anyway, Destiny's been waiting very patiently, but I just had to say that for posterity, because if I don't say this shit, you probably don't get exposed to that sort of thing. And even if you do, people are fucking stupid, you know? And they don't understand what the gift of attention is and what attention means. So yeah, Destiny, I got your shit. So well done suffering through me, okay? Well done suffering through me. Okay. Are you Aquarius rising too? I've got you March 25th, 1992. 5:04 a.m. Cincinnati, Ohio. Destiny. You are my density. I mean my destiny. I liked it, no suffering. Well, David, you are too kind. So, I'm just an old hag. An old trans hag. So, yeah. Good you are, Aqua Rising, with Saturn in your first house too. And then Chiron in your 7th house. It's always so interesting when I see this sort of configuration because it's sort of like, you know, we're someone who needs approval. We need other people's approval, but we just, you know, we're not comfortable letting people do anything for us at the same time. Like you're an Aquarius rising, but having Saturn in the first house is a very sort of Libra feel. Sorry, I have a hiatal hernia. It's a very Libra sort of feel in that it really wants to be liked. It doesn't have a stable sense of self. Oftentimes it comes from the parents. Excuse me. Now, I bet your dad was a nice person, or maybe you got along with him relatively. But mom was a bit erratic. Maybe had a temper. Mom was a big presence. Yes, a big presence. Her shit was really important. Maybe she was a narcissist. I don't know. But you had problems with mommy. I'm sorry, I have to blow my nose. Oh. So, mommy having a temper. My mom has a Sag moon too. I mean, she's as predictable as the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, she's a Sag moon. You know who else is a Sag moon? The former president of the United States, Donald Trump. I don't know. That's a bad Trump impression, but you know what I mean? It's fantastic. Being a Sag moon is wonderful. I can't do a Trump impression. I shouldn't even try. But anyway. Yeah, mom's a bit erratic, but you too, my darling, are a bit ecstatic. You cause trouble because you're volatile. A bit yourself. Yeah. You're an emotional person. You get dry skin, don't you? Dry hair. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You turn flushed and blushed. Huh. I wonder. I wonder about money losses. Money losses. Lawsuits. Lawsuits. I. Money and lawsuits. 8th house Jupiter. But Jupiter's not happy and he's retrograde. So I wonder if he got wrapped up in a lawsuit. Something having to do with death or a dead loved one or something like that. I don't know. That would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see. And your North Node in the 12th house. You're learning how to let yourself be an actual human being. I don't know what that means. What was I going to say? Oh, the eclipses. Going now between your your 3rd and 9th house. Problem. Sorry. You are also going through a whole string of new beliefs and a new understanding of your beliefs, and maybe even new educational endeavors. And coming up here, in April. You may even commit to a course or to a lesson program or a certification or something where, you're trying to earn some sort of degree or certificate or whatever. So, I don't know. I'm Aquarius rising. I hope I do that. I hadn't thought about a lot about it. So. Ms. Veal. Hello, sweetheart. After Destiny, we've got Having Fun. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I hate that. I hate that fucking voice, but I love Johnny Cash, you know. So. I'll tell you what, Peggy, that boy ain't right. Having fun. That sounded like John Wayne. I hate him. He's a rotten human being. He really is. Not a very good person. And I hate the fact that I still have that stupid man voice. But every once in a while it's kind of funny. I've been everywhere, man. Oh wait, time. Time after time. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you and be waiting. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Sorry, I got that. Time after time. Time after time. 7:33. Worcester, Maryland. Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you. Oh, here we go. Something in circles, confusion is nothing new. Something, show the chart. I can't see right. Having fun with fire. Look at the chart. It says February 29th, 1988. 7:33 p.m. Worcestershire, Massachusetts. Is it MA? Yeah, MA's Massachusetts. I got 7:33 Worcester, Massachusetts. February the 29th, 1988. Is this correct? 4 degrees Libra. Yo, having fun with fire. You paying a fucking attention? Is this correct? My darling, do you recognize your rising sign? Roasted. I don't know what's going on here. All I know is you're a Libra rising. And I know my Mars and my Sun are trine your rising. Your phone is slow, not apparently as slow as you are, sweetheart. I'm sorry. So, you might be quick with your temper, but not with your wit. Sorry, sweetheart. But you see things a bit differently than everyone else sees them. You see the big picture of things. You see how patterns fit and interconnect, right? People might seek you out, right, for questions that they can't figure out on their own. Because you're strange. And you're strange. People getting out of the rain. When you're strange. When you're strange. Right? You just see things in a different way than most people do. And you're naive. You're childlike. You're, you know. But you care too much about what people think about you. You do. You care too much about what other people think. And you see, the whole point of relationships in your life is about, about learning to be yourself and enjoy being yourself with other people rather than trying to be what you think other people want you to be. And you beat yourself up something terrible. Now, Mars and Saturn are both very happy in Capricorn. But when they're conjunct each other, you see, it gives us this overwhelming sense of responsibility. Like nothing ever comes easy to us, We get very frustrated with people who complain. People like me, who, like, when I break a nail, it's like, oh my God, I'm sorry, like the cat hair in my nose. And then you all are like, oh my God, right? There she goes again with her bullshit. She's so shallow, isn't she? Here she goes again with her New York strip. And see, I think this is overdone. And it's a pretty good medium rare, I suppose, but I still think it's overdone. But you see, this person, their name says having fun, and they're not having fun. They're not having fun. Because they're in the midst of an existential crisis. They may be suffering breakups or big relationship upheavals that are very disturbing to their sense of self and their sense of independence and self-value. And now they're questioning everything about themselves. And meanwhile, Saturn is forcing them to take a diligent and sober look at themselves, which is also never comfortable, is it? And in this case, Saturn will pass over the Sun in a few months. Cutting your mother out, well, you look to the moon for that. Your Leo moon. Where's Mars right now? Anyway, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I'm just wondering if there's a transit that's indicating cutting your mother out in particular. I mean, the whole thing between self and relationships is quite important with the eclipses, of course. Mars, though, is going through your third house now, but that's extended family, not so much the mother. I guess Mars is approaching Capricorn, which is the parents in general. I often think of the mother as the 10th house, right? Because it's that the house that's opposite the fourth of the father. But I have seen both parents in the fourth house, to be honest with you, in a practical sense, in readings. It's slightly more done than I would like it, but still quite good. You see? So, anyway, you see how the moon and Pluto are exactly square? Exactly square. A difference of 30 minutes. That's an indication of mama trauma. It's a very difficult one. Overbearing or abusive mother, quite frequently. Very difficult situation. But Saturn is currently going through, like I said, the sixth house, trying to get you to straighten your own life out on your own, which is difficult. You have to learn a lot of self-reliance during that transit. And it strains relationships because then you only come to rely on yourself because no one else seems to help you out. You see? And this goes on until 2026. And then Jupiter, excuse me, going through your eighth house, really should help you out with your financial situation. You know, you should either get help from other people or an inheritance or something like that, or figure out like a court case. Battle over the house at the moment. Well, that's very interesting because Mars is going to go into your fourth house again very soon, at the end of January. So you're going to see that battle sort of come to a crescendo, perhaps. You see, that's quite interesting. What else is going on here? Pamela. I was just about to go. Fine, Pamela. Pamela. I was gonna go. I'm tired. Pamela. Okay. 8/23/66. Oops, sorry. 66. Not 666. 66. My sister was born 1965. My sister was 1965. So very close. 5. 07 p.m. Baltimore. Baltimore. When I think of Baltimore, Maryland, I think of John Waters. I was raised on John Waters. That's how you can know I'm pretty fucked up. Because I was raised on John Waters. I sure love John Waters. And he was probably an awful human being. Thank you, having fun with fire. I hope you had fun with my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire, yeah. I knew that you would be untrue. I knew that you would be a lie. If I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, light my fire. Pamela, light my fire. Pamela's gonna light my fire. Okay. I don't know if I even got her information correct because I was like yelling at the time. So, you love the Doors. I mean, who doesn't love the Doors? But the Robbie Krieger and Ray Manzarek and the Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison. Mm. 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 Do we have a Capricorn rising? Mm. Mm. I don't know. I just had to taste it for a second. Mm. It's so weird. I'm a Taurus Mercury, and I love beef. It's like being a cannibal. You know? So, I just absolutely love the taste of beef. Like just rare raw beef. It's just, oh. I'm sorry. I was a raw vegan for a year with my ex-wife. Or 6 months, I guess it was. I didn't do very well. Let me put it that way. Okay, I'm sorry, Pamela. You're a Capricorn rising. I don't know why I want to do Russian accent with Capricorn rising. We're going to exit. Sorry, I shouldn't say that on YouTube. Excuse me. But Capricorn rising. Oh my goodness. Well, my poor darling, you've been going through a wild, what, like 20 years, 15 years? Pluto's been in your first house for a long time. So you were forced, like, just into the well of despair. Like I'm about to be. For several years there. What was that? In the late 2000s? 2010? Something like that? You got put through hell, didn't you, sweetheart? Did it feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe like everything was ripped away from you? Or did it feel like you had a new new sense of added power? I don't know. But something happened to you, sweetheart, didn't it? Did you get in big trouble? Or did you get a sense of big importance? I don't know. You're having a Saturn return right now, though. Your second Saturn return. It just started and it's going on until 2026. So once again, this is another pivotal time in your life, baby. It's almost like, I hate to use these fucking words because they're gross, but do I shit or get off the pot? You know, this might be a time when you're really thinking about, like, do I get out of the workforce or what? But it's probably not what you want to do. The eclipses are now going through your 4th and 10th house. So this typically signals big changes in our life direction or career situation. So you could see big opportunities pop up at this time, Pamela. You could. So please don't lose hope. Like, don't just like start getting all pessimistic and whatever, because there could be big stuff happening. And it's not, you know, I'm not saying be stupid and sit there like a, you know, lovesick puppy. But you have to believe it's there. Otherwise, what's the fucking point? You feel me? So, I hope that makes sense. You know, you probably aren't someone who's you're probably used to feeling you're stupid or unintelligent or, you know, like other people are smarter in some way. Maybe you had a speech impediment or learning disabilities. I don't know. Maybe you just had shitty brothers or sisters. But either way, you've had to learn to claw yourself out of these sort of difficulties with thinking or speaking or whatever you do in school. Hopefully, you've learned how to articulate yourself a bit better. And hopefully, you've learned to be a bit more confident about your intelligence. So, shouldn't matter what I think. Pamela says, I believe it's there. She also says, I did grow up with a speech impediment. I mean, sometimes astrology is very literal, isn't it? Sometimes it's very literal. But you see, the thing that people need to understand about astrology and all this stuff, it's very interconnected with, like I said, philosophies like Hermeticism. And this is what you need to all fucking understand. Hermeticism was an initiatory system about expansions of consciousness. That's what astrology is based on. You see? I mean, even if you're like me and the Buddhist conception makes more sense where everything's empty, there's still astrology is like the wheel of samsara in many ways. Like one of the guys I like, Adam Ellenboss, the astrologer, I think he's wonderful. He says your chart is a map of what you're not. No, I'd much rather you watch me than him. Because he's got enough motherfuckers watching him. But I do like the guy. I think he's relatively good. Well, you know, I think he's good. I like him. He's married, but I'd probably go down on him, you know. No big deal. I'd probably go down on lots of fucking people, because I do. So, you know. But, you feel me? I forgot where I was going with that, but, you know. He's a good guy. Anyway, he says the chart is a map of what you're not, you know. And why is that? Because it's the not self. And this is what the Buddhists would argue, is that whatever you call self or soul is ultimately just a social construction. I don't know if they'd use those words, but they'd say it's a bunch of conditions that have been acquired in life, right? And there's many examples of this, like, I'm Frankie. I'm a trans woman. I'm a parent. I'm a Mason. All these sorts of things. They're ultimately very ephemeral. You see? Ms. Veal says, thank you for your selfless service, Frankie. It's not selfless, baby. I'm trying to build up my business, at least through social media. I'm an astrologer, and I want to make money. I'm selfish. I'm a rotten fucking bitch like anyone else. I want. You know what I'm interested in? I'm interested in sex and money and popularity. Those are things I'm interested in. Those are interested things that, you know, the Saturn girl, I don't know, whatever you call this thing, Frankie or Saturn girl. I'm even starting to identify with Saturn girl more than Frankie, you know, which I was called as a child. You see? Identity is a thing based on conditions and conditioning. And so the whole task of spirituality is understanding the being behind the conditioning. Because is the being conditional? Is it? If it is, then figure that shit out for yourself, because then that just means that you die. And if that's the case, cool. Nothing to be afraid of. But if there's something or nothing, if there's a place for us beyond the conditional, I mean, that's what nirvana is, isn't it? Isn't that what the Buddha described as nirvana? Beyond all conditions. Nagarjuna, who I'm quite interested in, said that everything is empty of essence. To me, I'm not just some atheist. If there's such thing as a spiritual atheist, I don't know. Maybe that's a category I can invent, but you see, I believe in nothing. I really believe in nothing. Nothing has always been there. And nothing completely surrounds, envelops, sustains, and informs us, doesn't it? It's not even in it. It's not even there because it's nothing. And yet that's what is. I don't know if I can express that properly, but that's what I'm obsessed with. At my point in my spiritual journey is, and maybe that sounds sophomoric to a lot of people, like, oh, I did all that shit when I was a kid. Oh. Like, well, you know what? I don't know. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think about you or what you're doing. You can be focused on some bullshit. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what I say, even if I make fun of you. People can make fun of me, too. But what all of our goals should be, what we have in common, should be trying to understand what is. Trying to understand what this is. How you're fucking here, yo. That's wild. You're here. You're fucking here, yo. I'm here. I still can't get over that. And a lot of us just take it for granted, like it's just is what it is. But it's not what it is. It's a very intricate network of interactions and relationships that give rise to this whole thing that we call perception, isn't it? And I think it really is important that we try and investigate this whole sort of thing, because we derive our sense of individuality and this idea that we are a separated individual self from the fact that we perceive through an array of senses, right? Through sight and taste, smell and hearing and touch. I really love to be touched. I do. I love being touched. But how do we even know we exist? What's the sensation you get from being you? What's the sensation you get from being yourself? Have you even ever tried to put your attention on the sensation of being yourself? I grew up in all this spiritual nonsense. I think it's bullshit. I'm a girl of science. I'm a girl of archaeology. I'm a girl of history. But consciousness is still the big mystery to me. And even though it's not even mysterious, because guess what? A lot of neuroscientists, a lot of actual people involved in the understanding of the human brain are proving that consciousness is probably an emergent property of the physical brain. Like I said earlier, an epiphenomenon of the aggregation of microtubules into this sort of system, and that it is sort of how life began, in a way, according to, certain models, the primordial soup idea. Does this in any way take away from the mystery of human consciousness and from being here? Fuck no. How the fuck does it? You're still here. And guess what? We have the testimony of people who I take pretty seriously. And you don't have to. And no one has to. You know, pick your fucking poison. Like I said, I'm an empiricist. I believe in what I can see, hear, prove to myself and my own consciousness. But I also have felt the mystery of consciousness. As a child, I had an experience when I was 3 or 4 years old where I just was. I just was. There was no me. There was no other. I just was, and I was a part of everything else. And everything else happening was a part of me. And I felt like I was at home. And I'd never felt at home. Like I did then. I remember I ran to my mom. She was in the kitchen. I don't remember what the fuck she was doing. She was at the counter and I was like, yo, Mom. I didn't say yo, but I said, Mom, I'm here. And she said, oh, that's great, Frankie. Kept doing what she was doing. And when I said, I'm here, I don't think I was able to communicate the gravity of what I meant at the time by I'm here. My makeup is all fucked up. Wonderful. Pamela says, I not only had the speech impediment, I also suffered a mild stroke, which didn't help with my already low self-esteem. I've come a long way. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry, sweetie. The moon represents the body, baby, not just the mother. And when you have the moon in the 12th house, there's a lot of suffering with the physical body. So it's very typical, and I'm so sorry, sweetheart. But you know what's quite interesting is you've entered into a very significant time in your life with the eclipse cycle. Because as a Capricorn rising, now the eclipses are oscillating between your 10th and 4th houses. And so when we hit April, it's April 8th, I believe, is the solar eclipse. You're going to have a big change in your living situation, most likely. In your domestic situation or with your parents. You've already been experiencing a big change in your life direction, maybe even in your career in particular. But whatever you were doing before is not working, and you're going in a totally different way. This is also a time for you to start learning to have fun again, because Jupiter's going through your 5th house. So please, darling, you need to start... Oh God, I look like a fucking gutter. I am a gutter girl. I'm a gutter girl. I'm always attracted to gutter girls. Whatever that means, it means a particular thing to me. So don't read into it and don't get all upset at me for it. Oh, but anyway. Mmm. This is very important, sweetheart, because you're going to be having to prove things, to start things, to start a new job, to start a new life, to build a new house, to build a new home, to move into a new place. This is manifestation time. Manifestation time. Mm. Wow. I looked semi-cute at the beginning of this, and then I cried for some reason. I can't even remember why. And now I look like a swamp slut. I'm a gutter girl. MZ Colston, I didn't have you on my fucking list, yo. It's been 3 fucking hours, homie. I gotta go. I love you, though. I love you. I didn't see your shit on here. I don't have any helpers. I did my best. I look like fucking nightmare. This is horrible. It's like Swamp Thing. Why would anyone do this to themselves?